Welcome to Chapter 5 of Miles Regan First Day. Chapter 5. Lull. Before we begin, check out other books created by MJJ Taylor, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. The morning sun carved pale beams through the shattered glass of reception. Smoke drifted in lazy curls, cut red by the stuttering flash of alarms. What had once been a busy front desk, coffee steaming, printers humming, officers yawning into their mugs, was now a graveyard. Paper floated like ash. Blood spread black across the tiles. The men who moved through it weren't amateurs. Black fatigues, helmets, balaclavas, body armor stripped of insignia. They looked like shadows fractured into pieces. Most carried rifles, scratched and well-worn. Some wore stolen stab vests painted over black. They moved with patience, not panic, each step deliberate. But slower now, because the plan had changed. Yuri, the bear, broad, pale-eyed, silent as frost. He carried stillness like armor, and his silence had weight. Grozny, Donetsk. He had seen worse than this. Anton, the knife. Lean, sharp. A tablet glowed faint blue across his mask. CCTV feeds flickered in his hands. Each twitch of his finger pushed men into position like chess pieces. Mikhail, the dog, youngest, restless. Gum cracked loud behind his mask, echoing off broken glass. A shotgun hugged to his chest, hunger bright in his stance. Behind them, 15, maybe 20 fighters. Russians, Ukrainians, Chechens, even a couple of Brits who had crossed into their cause, shifted uneasily. Professionals, but unsettled. The air reeked of smoke and burnt flesh. Yuri crouched beside a fallen man. Victor, his chest cratered, ribs splintered, mask half torn away. His satchel bulged with unused breaching charges. Mikhail spat, pumping his shotgun. He had the kit. Anton didn't look up from his tablet. His tone was flat. And now he's carrion. One of the younger fighters cursed, voice jagged with fury. It was supposed to be soft. Police don't fight back. Not like this. But the wall said otherwise. Bullet holes stitched the plaster. A smear of blood ran 3 meters long where someone had been dragged screaming. Yuri rose, voice low, steady. They are not sheep. They bite. Wolves. That makes them dangerous. And wolves are only killed by patience. Mikhail's gum snapped louder, but he didn't argue. The search began. 2 men dropped beside a dead constable. Gloves stripped magazines from his vest, tugged at his belt. One barked, "Key card?" The other swore. Net, nothing. Another body rolled rough against the tiles. Straps tugged, pockets torn. Nothing. "Bestray! Faster!" Mikhail snapped, pacing like a dog on a chain. Yuri's glare froze him. "Patience, dog!" Rushing killed Victor. "You want to join him?" The air thickened. The men kept searching, flipping corpses like butcher's cuts. At the far side of reception, a constable still breathed. His chest rose and fell shallow, mouth bubbling pink. One fighter knelt, pistol pressed to his temple. "Живой." Alive. Anton glanced up from his tablet, then back to the CCTV feed. His voice was ice. "Not anymore." The shot cracked sharp. The body twitched once, then stilled. Phones buzzed in the pockets of the dead, muffled ringtones, vibrations, names flashing on cracked screens. Mumhart, Sarah, wife calling, 12 missed calls, each ignored, unanswered. One Russian laughed bitterly, kicking a buzzing phone aside. "Their families will wait forever." The CCTV flickered again. Custody cells, prisoners pounding fists against blue steel doors, officers dragging bleeding colleagues behind shutters. Anton zoomed, static lines cutting the image. There, a face, pale, young, rookie, rifle clutched like a lifeline. Blood streaked his uniform. Mikhail leaned over his shoulder. "That the boy?" "The one who killed Victor." Yuri's jaw flexed once. Then he lifted the megaphone from Victor's satchel. The voice that rolled out across the ruined station was calm, steady. "Release the prisoner in number 8. It echoed down corridors through smoke, bouncing off stone and steel. The search dragged on. More bodies turned. A sergeant's belt torn open. A CDO's vest ripped free, gloves slick with blood. And then, Stes! Here! A fighter lifted a blood-smeared keycard high. Another pulled a second from a CDO's pocket. The tension shifted. Anton's eyes glinted. 2 cards. That gets us through to custody and the bridge walk. The men checked their rifles. Magazines tapped home. Breeches reloaded. Discipline returned in the smoke. But anger still simmered. One fighter snarled at Mikhail. He pushed Victor forward. Now Victor's dead. Mikhail shoved him hard against the wall, shotgun jamming his chest. You saying it's my fault? The man spat blood, growled. Duh, yours. Yuri's hand snapped out, gripping both by their collars. He hauled them close, pale eyes cold as stone. You argue again, I shoot you both and leave you here for SWAT. His voice was ice. We bleed together, or we bleed alone. Choose. They nodded, swallowing fury, stepping back into line. Outside, the cordon pushed closer. Sirens wailed. Crowds shouted. Phones raised. A woman screamed somewhere in the mass. A crackle of Russian broke the air. A radio feed patched in from their watchers outside. Полиция окружает. Дроны в небе. Вертолеты через 10 минут. The police are closing. Drones above. Helicopters in 10 minutes. Anton hissed through his teeth, eyes flicking across the tablet feed. We don't have long. Yuri lifted the megaphone again, voice steady as stone. Release number 8. He lowered it, his tone quieter, just for his men. Slow, silent. They know we are coming. Mikhail grinned behind his mask, shotgun rising. Good. Let them wait. The fighters tightened formation, boots crunched over broken glass, rifles raised. The dead were stripped, the living silenced. The keys were in their hands, and they began to move. Toward custody, toward Spectre's prize, toward blood. Silence came in shuddering pieces. A drip from a burst pipe, the dull ping of a fluorescent about to die. Someone sobbing behind a door, the stink of blood under bleach. Hart crouched beside Miles, eyes narrowed, voice low. If they bring a breacher again, we fall left. You keep low, shoot at legs. Don't be a hero. Heroes go home in vans with blue lights. Miles nodded, swallowing hard. Metal stung his tongue. His cheek throbbed from splinters from the briefing room. He pressed a knuckle to it, and it came away red. Radcliffe stood beneath the custody clock, sleeves soaked, jaw like stone. Blood dripped from his cuff to the tiles, and he didn't even notice. Lines, he said. CDOS on me. PCs here and here. If they push, we fall back to the bench, then to the interview lobby. 8 stays behind doors. Patel sniffed hard and nodded, pressing a makeshift bandage against a colleague's stump. Price's voice crackled faint over the shutter intercom. Back corridors clear, for now. From the cells came voices, softer now. Tanks uncertain. Sarge? Sarge? Daz forcing a weak laugh. Reckon I still get me interview today or what? Hart muttered. You'll get a lullaby if you're lucky. At the far shutter, something scraped. Boots repositioning. Metal clinked on metal. They weren't gone. They were waiting. So were the cops. So were the prisoners. The custody clock clicked once, loud as a gunshot. Hart rolled his shoulders, gum snapping once. Right then. Radcliffe lifted his chin. Hold your line. Radcliffe's eyes swept the block. Count heads. Patel rattled names, quick and flat. Radcliffe, Hart, Miles, Price, Patel. 1 CDO wounded. 2 dead. Morris gone. 1 sergeant unaccounted. Radcliffe nodded once. That's who we've got. That's who we fight with. He turned to the cells. Prisoners? 13 inside, Sarge. Radcliffe's gaze hardened. And 13 chances for them to grab key cards if the doors go. We're not leaving them in there for the bastards to use. Clear the block. Everyone out. The order hit like a slap. Miles blinked. You're letting them out? Radcliffe's jaw clenched. We control them, not the other way round. On me. Unlock. Keys rattled. One by one, doors groaned open. Prisoners shuffled out, some loud, some silent, some with their bravado gone cold. Fowler pale and trembling. Carla Jennings stone-faced. Tank fuming under his breath. Daz pretending not to shake. The line of cons and cops became a ragged column under Radcliffe's eye. He stopped at cell 8. Inside, Adam Clark sat calm on his bunk, steady, waiting. Radcliffe's voice was thunder. "On your feet." Clark rose without a word. Radcliffe snapped cuffs on him, double-locked, yanking his arms tight. "You move with us." "You don't speak." Clark tilted his head, pale eyes sharp. "They'll come for me anyway." Radcliffe shoved him forward. "Then they'll bleed for it." Radcliffe barked orders. "Armory. That's our only chance. We move as one. No breaks, no stragglers. Anyone slows the line, they get left." The shutters lifted in staggered bursts. Air rushed in. Smoke followed. "Move!" The lull shattered. Gunfire poured down the corridor the moment they stepped out. Bullets shrieked, tearing walls to dust. Sparks leapt from metal lockers. Tiles burst into clouds of powder. Radcliffe raised the rifle, the only rifle they had. His sleeve was soaked, his jaw tight, but his aim was steady. "Covering fire!" he roared. He stepped into the open, the weapon bucking against his shoulder. Muzzle flash split the smoke. Shapes in black ducked back as his rounds cracked down the corridor. "Move!" he bellowed. "Go! Go! Go!" The rest scrambled. Officers dragged prisoners, shields lifted like paper against the storm. A CDO was hit square in the chest, blood spraying across Patel's uniform. She shrieked but kept moving, hauling another with her by the collar. Fowler bolted sideways, shrieking. A burst took him in the spine. He collapsed mid-scream, limbs twitching. Two officers went next, one clutching his throat, choking on blood, the other blown apart against the wall. The line disintegrated. Tank plowed forward, shoulder first, roaring, dragging Daz with him like a rag. Daz's face was white, lips moving soundlessly. Clark walked calm even under fire, cuffs clinking, his face unreadable. Miles stumbled after Hart, deafened, eyes wide, rifle gone, dragged by the collar like a child. Behind them, Radcliffe's rifle thundered. He was a wall of fire, cutting down shadows in the smoke. Brass rattled against tiles at his boots. "Keep moving!" he roared. His voice was iron, even as blood poured down his side. The survivors shoved forward, trampling bodies, boots sliding in gore. Radcliffe fired again, and again. Each shot bought seconds. Each second bled him dry. Then the return fire came heavy. Bullets hammered into him, shoulder, gut, thigh. His body jolted, but he stayed upright, teeth bared, firing until the rifle clicked empty. The final burst smashed into his chest. Radcliffe staggered, eyes burning bright for one last second. Then he dropped, hard. The rifle clattered beside him, smoking. Blood spread fast beneath his frame. Miles saw it happen. He couldn't stop staring, even as Hart shoved him forward. "Eyes front, lad," Hart roared. His grip was iron, his voice breaking. The corridor dissolved into chaos. Officers shredded, CDOS butchered. Prisoners cut down, crushed under boots. Patel staggered, limping, covered in blood that wasn't hers. By the time the survivors broke clear into the stairwell, only 6 were left. Hart, Miles, Tank, Daz, Patel, Clark. The rest lay screaming or silent in pools of red, left behind. They staggered down the long hall, through interview rooms wrecked by stray fire. Whiteboards shredded, chairs overturned, papers floated like ash. Past the briefing room, where laughter had filled the air an hour ago. Coffee mugs still on desks, notepads still open. Now the walls were riddled with holes, the floor streaked red. The building wasn't a station anymore. It was a grave. Hart's voice cut through. "Eyes up! Armory's ahead. Down the stairs, right side. Move!" Behind them, boots hammered closer. Muffled voices barked commands in a tongue none of them recognized. Foreign, sharp, unfamiliar. More gunfire cracked. Plaster exploded from the walls. The survivors kept moving. Blood dripped down the stairwell, trailing from their boots. And the armory, their last hope, waited at the end of the hall.